I met Ed Sandhop actually when Nancy and I were just here. We hadn't been here but a week or two. And the theater department has a fundraiser each year. And they ask what they call notables to perform in their fundraiser. So we had a little very simple dance routine that we had to perform along with several other couples. Well, it was Nancy and myself, a couple of other couples, and Ed and Genevieve Sandhop. So I met Ed Sandhop along with Genevieve, and Nancy met him too, on stage, if you will, probably about almost 6 years ago now.
The first time I saw Mr. Sandhop, I was working at the courthouse, and I was just happening to take a break and was looking out the window, and I saw Mr. Sandhop walking down the sidewalk going toward the Texan Cafe, and I asked someone who that was, and they explained to me that he was an employee of Gibbs Brothers and a very respected man in the community.
I noticed that I was given one nice, pretty young lady to kind of escort me around, and Ed was given two pretty young ladies to escort him around, so I knew he had to be a pretty important guy around campus. So
there have been several turning points in my long life. The first was working in a sawmill when I was in high school, 2 summers, between the 10th grade and 11th grade, and the summer of the 9th to the 10th. We only had 11 grades in Trinity High School. And working in that sawmill convinced me that I had to do something better than that. In 1946, coming back, and Sam Houston had been on my mind all the time, and we were able to find a place to live here, and also they had room for a few more veterans. That was at the point when Sam Houston, I think, the year before it had 800 students in it, and in January of 1946 they jumped up to 2,600. And it was the experience for everybody involved, both the professors, the administration, and the students. You can just imagine, because we were all a little bit older and been all over the world, and it changed the atmosphere. And but we all made it through together, and the Sam Houston experience was one of the bright spots of my life. I've enjoyed it ever since.
Mr. Sandhop is a huge supporter of Sam Houston and has been his whole life. Even when he was on the city council, he tried to stress the importance of Sam Houston for the growth of Huntsville.
Well, my picture of success might not be what a lot of people would be, but I think gaining the ability to give something back is, and then being able to take care of your family. But I think after those two, being able to give something back to your community or to your school or whatever, your hospital, has been one of the most satisfactory things in my life.
Mr. Sandhop was given the nickname Godfather many years ago by some young men who he had helped while they were attending Sam Houston. He helped fill jobs for them and that type of thing, but it's a kind nickname. I think it is an example of his willingness to help people and always care about them, wanting the best for everyone.
But remember the first time I was able to really do something nice for somebody else or some institution, had enough money to feel like I could afford it. It was just a real satisfactory thing. Almost as much fun as making the money. Maybe more fun. That's a crazy way to put it, but you edit that out.
One memory I can remember about Mr. Sandhop is a story that someone told about the day a girl came down to the square looking for a boyfriend because she wanted to register for classes at Sam. She had lost her checkbook and she was trying to find her boyfriend so she could get money to register. Someone saw her sitting on the curb crying and they asked her what was wrong. She replied that she needed to get money to register for classes. They sent her directly to Mr. Sandhop. He listened to her story, gave her the money, and told her she could repay him at any time. So that's one of the favorite memories I remember because of his willingness to help.
I think we need to say that Ed has served the mission of the university for many years. You know, he graduated in the 1940s and stayed in Huntsville. And so he's been a person that our students can look to as a successful and very ethical businessman for many, many years. And so, unlike some of the other great graduates that we've had that have gone on and done great things, in the students' eyes, sometimes you know, they're not as real as having someone here in Huntsville that has done the same thing, but right here. And he's helped the university in many ways. He's given of his time and of his resources in many ways. And so he has been someone that I just can't imagine Sam Houston State without Ed Sandhop and without Genevieve. Genevieve is just an absolute dear, and we just love them both.
I guess I'm involved with the College of Business and the university as a whole because I really feel I owe them a debt. They did me a really fine service back there in the 40s, and it's helped me through my life. The debt of gratitude, and couldn't ask for more from a satisfaction standpoint. I got to work with the university, and the city to some extent, hospital. It's been a good time. I've been really fortunate.